So I think something which I think can work together on. Ladies and gentlemen, I guess I have provided enough points to justify why accountancy is arguably the most versatile profession. Now, having said that, what makes one accountant more successful than another is the personal attitude, the willingness to work hard and work smart, the need for continuous learning, and the need for continuous professional development, and the need to adapt to a constantly evolving and changing business and legal environment. Now, in this respect, accountants need to acquire new skills on how to operate in the real world as well as in the virtual world. The accountants need to embrace, or at least be able to deal with social media. And the accountants need to even acquire marketing skills to make them more relevant and be able to move up the corporate ladder. Now, to some of the 400 students present here in this preliminary hall, thank you for coming over to hear me speak this evening. And let me congratulate you for having chosen the right profession. And I wish you all the best in your examinations. Now, you still have to pass. To some of you who are not in this profession, but are still contemplating to switch into the accountancy profession, it is still not too late. Now, after all, we have many lawyers who have turned to become an accountant, including the PwC chairman, Dato. Now, if a lawyer can end up as an executive chairman of a major accountancy firm, imagine what are the possibilities for an accountant. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. And I'll be happy to answer any question that you may have in the next session, Q&A, that will be moderated by Ms. Sue, the Director of Membership Development and Education of MIA. Thank you.
Thank you, Yang and Omar. Ladies and gentlemen, and also the students who just joined us, for those of you who want to post questions, the usual platforms that we have on Apple and also on Android, head on over there.
Such a thing as a work-life balance. To me, it's always been imbalance. Well, I guess I would say that working in the private sector was perhaps easier because things are a lot more straightforward, and especially when it comes to stakeholders management compared to the public sector. Now, in the private sector, running a multinational bank, for example, can be very complex, but you are able to compartmentalize your stakeholders, meaning that you have your shareholders, your customers, and your employees, for example. Now, in the case of your shareholders, you all have common interests in terms of shareholder value creation. So, meaning that you want more profit, more dividends, as well as a better share price. Now, in the case of the customers, in the case of Maybank, more than 9 million in Malaysia, they all have one common objective, meaning that they want competitive pricing, they want good customer service, they want innovative products, and so on. And in the case of employees, they all want a good career progression, conducive working environment, a competitive remuneration, and of course, good bonus when the bank is doing well. So again, all these can be compartmentalized and they have all common issues. But in the case of the public sector, you only have one group of stakeholders called the Malaysian public, and there are 28 million Malaysians in Malaysia now, and each one of them will have very, very different expectation from another. So I guess that makes it a bit more challenging in the sense that although you're doing the right thing, but it's almost impossible to make everybody happy. So it's actually more challenging on that front. Plus, of course, in the public sector, being minister means that you represent the government, and because there's opposition, they always try to counter what you say, and we think whether it's actually good or otherwise. And in the case of media, obviously, there are also some media that not necessarily pro-government. So we actually have to deal with that.
Yeah, it looks like it's like a structured and unstructured kind of things. What are the, should we still haven't answered, what's the hours like, comparing?
Well, I always strive, whenever it comes to New Year, my son, I always have this new resolution that I want to leave the office before midnight. I'm happy that the number of occurrences in office now that I have to work beyond midnight is actually much less compared to when I was at Maybank. Still, the number of hours working still pretty long. So I think you're thinking that people in government work 9 to 5. No, that doesn't happen. Actually, not even this, but also actually there are many people in MOF, in the EPU, work very hard actually, depending on the needs, on the requirements. So when it comes to the budget fund, for example, people in MOF, some of them actually would work continuously, not having to leave the office at all. Likewise, in the case of the EPU, we are currently busy preparing the 11th Malaysia Plan, and we have now started the drafting already, and at the same time doing the engagement and getting feedback from the various stakeholders. And on that, before I forget, can I just do some promotion? Okay, now we actually preparing this 11 Malaysia Plan that will chart the progress for Malaysia for 5 years, from 2016 to 2020. So indeed, this will be the last Malaysia Plan that will take us to achieve our aspiration to become a high-income nation come 2020. We have done our syndication with the various state governments. We're getting some feedback from them. We are getting feedback from various industries. And what we like to also do is to get feedback from the people. So we have set up this website, www.rmke11.epu.gov.my, to get some feedback. So I think in this we will explain a little bit about some of the strategic thrusts for the Malaysia Plan, and we hope that all of you can provide some feedback. So we are going to open this website until end of December, so the public can actually provide some views. I think this is actually part of our engagement in trying to get as many input and make this document as inclusive as possible. So, sorry for that, Michelle.
You were talking about, in the private sector, how it's structured, you have components and all that, and then you talk about the public sector, it's basically quite structured. Have you felt insecure or in any way when you approach a new role? Is there any sense of insecurity, or you think that the skills that you have and the experience that you have would prepare you to take on those challenges?
Well, whenever you assume a new role or new task, there will always be that element of unknowns, and meaning that because you don't know what the environment is going to be like, the actual task at hand can will make you more nervous. So the anxiety was certainly very high. And for me, clearly, although I had been involved in running 3 large organizations, and not just in Malaysia but also across the region, but being a member of the cabinet is a different ballgame altogether. So I guess, having said that, I was also very clear in terms of the expectations of the Prime Minister. And in our short conversation on the 15th of May, I actually asked what was his expectation, and we agreed that I'm not a politician and I don't aspire to be one. And indeed, the Prime Minister said that, I don't expect you to be a politician, because if I need a politician, there are many other better politicians than I am. So the Prime Minister wanted someone from the private sector to bring in private sector's perspective into government. So indeed, that's actually what people like me, Paul Lau, as well as Dato bring into the cabinet. So it's only 3 of us out of a group of 30 plus, so not even 10%. So I guess the point is that whilst actually it's a new territory altogether, it is a bit unnerving at times, but because the environment is very conducive for us to participate in, we get to voice our views, we get to actually work together with other cabinet ministers. That makes the job a lot easier. And I think in particular there is that, I suppose, a partnership between those with private sector experience and those with public sector experience working together to help the country move forward.
Just one last question before I open the floor to ask the strings of questions. I know you've mentioned this before because I heard a few of your talks. What's the difference in salary, between the
can I share with you something private? It's quite interesting. Well, in that conversation with the Prime Minister, he mentioned that by joining the cabinet, obviously the government is not able to pay you well, like Maybank. Then my immediate response to him was that money is not important. What's actually important was to do the right thing, to do a good job, and so on. So for me, I always knew that being a minister will not pay well compared to being the CEO of a bank. But I did not know it was actually very, very low. Until a week later, when I saw a news article in the Star talking about how big a pay cut that both Paul and myself will take. Now, I guess many of you are probably accustomed to taking a 10% pay cut, but 90% pay cut is something very, very different. But having said that, unfortunately, I mentioned that one of the qualities of an accountant is that we are typically very prudent. Well, not necessarily stingy. Now, although I was the CEO of a large bank, but I was, I suppose, quite conservative or prudent in the sense that I don't have a Ferrari, I don't have a Porsche, and so on. So for me, it actually was quite easy to adjust to a lower level of income. So that wasn't a problem at all.
But you can, right? You can afford one.
Yes, I think
I'm sharing this because I want to encourage the students that actually the plan to move into a high income level in society and all that jobs. Accounting is one of them.
Indeed, accounting is certainly a high paying job. Now, I think just to take that concept, as accountants, we're always taught how to manage our cash flow well. And that means for an individual, it's about having to live within your means. And whenever you have a low income, so all you have to do is just make adjustments to your lifestyle to make sure that you actually spend within your means. And alhamdulillah, after 17 months, I'm still able to work within the income level that I have now. So no issue.
We'll open to the floor for question. I hope students who are at the balcony will pose some questions to the other student. There's one question. Also, what additional capabilities that the accountant need to get to progress from being an accountant to a good businessman or CEO?
I think for me, one of the most valuable experience I had was when I joined Kumpulan Firma as the Vice President of Finance and Treasury, and later on to cover also administration. That was actually the time when I was involved in everything from A to Z. It means that I had to look after the office boys, the clerks, receptionists, and all the way up to having to deal with the senior people. And that gives you the full breadth of experience in terms of managing people, in terms of managing finances, in terms of managing the business as well. Because at the end of the day, the CFO or the financial controller or the accountant is very privileged to be at the heart of any organization, because you actually control or you have access to all the financial data. So I guess in that position, it is very important for you to then be a bit more interested to know what drives a business on the revenue side as well on the cost side. And therefore, over time, develop that entrepreneurial spirit and skills. So the rest, I would say, would be to acquire those action skills along the way. And one of the most important skills that accountants must acquire is technological skills, whether in the form of your accounting and operating systems, or in terms of technology for marketing purposes. And I think it's actually very important. So in this day and age, it is actually very, very important for accountants to keep abreast with the latest development in technology, and now in particular social media. Whilst you may choose to not to embrace social media, so to speak, but you must be aware and be able to use social media to your advantage.
Well, it's a very good thing that you brought up about ITC and all that. I know even for myself, when I got started, there was no software for auditing and all that. Do you struggle, with the transformation, and it's a must now to use IT in your work?
I guess I don't think I'm that old, because I was able to actually be part of that transition. But I still remember the first time I joined Troublesome Bankers, I still saw all those accounting cards, ledger cards, and some of them actually pretty big cards. But those were the days. Over time, it has evolved into contract accounting systems and so on. And I think by the time I was the CFO, the technology was quite advanced, that we had contract accounting systems already. So maybe not as bad. Sorry, I'm not suggesting that you are older than I am. You're not, but I guess that was actually the advantage for me. Thank you.
Just to share, actually, this wasn't pre-planned at all. She doesn't know what question I was going to pose to you. Okay, that's another question. Throughout your career, most of the jobs that a pursued has undertaken appear to be very high profile and stressful job. How do you maintain a good life and your usefulness?
Well, I'm not sure when you talk about a good life balance. I guess you have to make a choice in the sense that whether you're prepared to sacrifice some good stuff in your younger years in pursuit of a successful career. And I think, again, that's really by choice. In my case, apart from the choice of wanting to be successful, I also felt compelled every time to do a good job for the organization that I work for. So it's about carrying the shouldering responsibility that people actually place on you. And that means, at times working long hours and at the expense of social life, family, and so on. For me, there are costs in the career that I had. And number one, I did not have a child until after 11 years of marriage. So perhaps too busy with work instead of being too busy with wife. Secondly, I had gone through 3 angioplasty procedures, but I'm not still standing in that sense. Again, to me, that's very much self-inflicted. For those of you who are interested to know the causes, there are typically 3 causes to a heart problem.